The movie that defined Pixar's destiny almost broke them.
It was tough. It was too tough.
Let's go back to the late 90s. There are childhoods and golden mornings to all things, a time when everything's unwearied, fresh and new, before having to grow up and bear the weight of the world. It was similar for Pixar. Toy Story ushered in the possibility of 3D computer animated features with a bang.
First of all, the fact that this paper has even heard of this movie and they care about it is stunning. And then they gave it a good review. They were just glowing. I mean, wow.
This is Pete Docter, one of Pixar's first animator hires, knows his way around story. Can't do a lot of heavy lifting on Toy Story 2 because he's developing a movie about monsters in your closet. The first feature-length 3D computer animated film ever could not have been more iconic and impressive. So naturally, there was immediate consideration of a sequel. The chairman of Disney, Joe Roth, was immediately on board when the idea was discussed with Pixar leaders. As described in David Price's The Pixar Touch, Disney was still savoring the taste of straight-to-VHS sequel revenues and figured a Toy Story sequel would be a perfect candidate for one of these low-budget cash grabs. After all, these sequels were made with less effort and care than Disney's flagship fare while riding their coattails. Both Aladdin 2, The Return to Jafar, and Lion King 2, Simba's Pride earns hundreds of millions off of VHS sales and rentals, while both costing a fraction of what the original hits had cost to make. Disney wanted the same treatment for Toy Story 2 and gave their approval. At this point in time, Pixar had a partnership with Disney for their funding and distribution, which is why every logo was a pairing of the two companies. This helped Pixar to create the iconic movies that they did, as animation is incredibly expensive, but this meant that they ultimately answered to Disney. Sequels in the 90s, and still all too often today, stood for a number of things, and not good things. Cash grab, derivative, slop, coattail riding. Sequels conjured all of these phrases in the public mind. But Pixar could be different. Pixar had Toy Story and A Bug's Life under their belt, but as the sequel was announced, people had to be wondering, would this sequel prove Pixar to be the genius, innovative story company we all thought they might be? Or would they sell out to the mediocre sequelizing that often prevailed in filmmaking? Were Pixar's first two successes just a fluke? With a shortage of staff to work on the new movie, Pixar recycled the team from the unsuccessful Pixar Games division to become the production crew for the sequel, and John Lasseter and the leadership picked directing talent that wasn't experienced but could be developed by this project. And pretty soon, they ran into a roadblock. As founder Ed Catmull put it in his memoir, Creativity Inc., Pixar didn't know how to underachieve. The relentless hunger for excellence and high-wire creativity that had built the company and literally invented 3D feature animation could not be laid aside for one project.
Suppose it's just a mistake.
Pixar leadership approached Disney with their problem and with the new request. It had to be a theatrical feature. There was no other way. They couldn't shove the story into a low-budget direct-to-video mold. Disney saw the dollar signs, liked the idea, and the release date was set for Thanksgiving weekend, 1999.
Time to get up?
Oh, Tasha, help me. When's my shot due?
Pixar itself was right in the middle of its glorious growing up years. Their home base at this point was a building in Point Richmond, right near a chemical factory whose emissions would occasionally get so bad it necessitated a temporary abandonment of the building for the day.
We were in a place called Point Richmond, which was 2 miles away from a few refineries. A few times a year we'd have evacuation days because the refineries would spew some wonderful chemical concoction into the air.
Inside, each animator was given the freedom to design their own bungalow in lieu of a gray, stifling cubicle. From Barbie castles to real bamboo tiki huts, it was a reflection of their groundbreaking culture.
Pixar's facilities grew with the company, which meant that they were a hodgepodge.
The animation bullpen was this amazing building, probably not legal at all because of fire code.
Their success was built on defying stifling norms and channeling the deepest creative energy from their employees, and having fun was definitely part of the recipe.
It looked like a playground. It was loose, it was free, it was rough. It was like 200 people sharing a college dorm room.
It was a place where you could go and draw on the wall or make a hole in the wall and not feel bad about it.
With the laser tag, remember? The old building, everything was just, it was like a rental office space. And we would go around, turn off all the lights, leaving.
Working so late, nobody else was around.
Yeah, so everything started, so we'd all run around.
Man, we were working so hard. We played the whole time.
The story for Toy Story 2 found its spark in Lasseter's idea, namely in how he noticed his own urge to keep his toy collection away from his kids, locked up and safe. In Toy Story's world, this would logically be one of the worst fates. This was paired with co-director Ash Brannon's own idea that there could be a garage sale at which a toy collector could steal Woody. The bones of the movie were falling into place, but slowly. It was full steam ahead, and all of their work would be a complete waste when the movie was accidentally deleted. In a now famous incident, animators watched in suspicion and then in horror as movie assets started disappearing. Someone in the company had somehow managed, accidentally presumably, to run the command to delete every animation asset in the movie. By the time they managed to shut off the power, around 90% of their assets were gone, space junk in the digital void. One can only imagine the brain trust meeting that followed. How would they explain to theaters, manufacturers, and the entire world that the world's most innovative animation studio couldn't release the movie because they accidentally deleted it? Their only hope was in the backup drives, but they quickly discovered massive errors with the backup drives. The team wasn't being alerted when the drives were full, so the drives would delete older information when adding new information. This would be the killing stroke. Then, an unlikely hero stepped forward. Galen Sussman had just had a baby. While on maternity leave, she took the opportunity to keep working on some of her scenes by backing up the film's assets to her home computer. Her computer now held the last copy of most all the missing assets that had been deleted. Soon enough, Pixar's future now rested in a blanket-wrapped PC in the back of a car driving towards Pixar at the ginger speed of a nightly bingo-bound senior citizen, flasher lights on and everything. By the skin of their teeth, Pixar was saved, but this would just be the first trial in their production gauntlet. Eventually, the film's release was on the horizon, and the time came for Pixar to show their work to the Disney executives. But they had a huge problem. Despite having the core ideas in place, the movie was still not good. It was, in fact, very bad.
We knew Toy Story 2 was having troubles. I don't think we realized how bad it was really going, and then we found out.
This is Andrew Stanton, Pixar's first animator hire. Good storyteller, co-director on Toy Story 1, right-hand man to the CCO.
It just was not shaping up to be at the level that we thought it needed to be.
This is Lee Unkrich, editor at Pixar, has a keen eye for story, brings unique perspective and storytelling chops as an editor. As Ed describes, the movie was flat, dull, predictable. He also describes a valuable lesson that Pixar learned about the process. They'd given a solid idea to well-meaning but inexperienced direction. And that was the key. Give a great idea to inexperienced directors or leadership, get a mediocre result. Give a mediocre idea to great directors or leadership, and get an amazing result. But the lesson was learned too late. Pixar had to report their progress to the Disney brass. Brain Trust member Andrew Stanton and the Pixar team sat painfully in the dark room as the disastrous animatic reel played on the screen for the executives. As soon as the lights went up, Andrew jumped up to the front and went full damage control mode, explaining something like, "We know the film needs major changes, and we are in the process of mapping them out." What the Disney executives said next defines the exact reason why precisely nobody had any faith in Hollywood sequels. The executives responded to Andrew by saying, "There just isn't enough time to do an overhaul. We think it's good enough, and besides, it's only a sequel." Only a sequel. Only a sequel. Only a sequel. Only a sequel. Jafar is back, and he's out for that. Stanton responded, "We're gonna redo it." But one thing would make this feat nearly impossible. The crew at Pixar was about to try to redo an entire movie less than a year before release. There was no way to move the release date. Manufacturers and Happy Meal toys were dead set on releasing Thanksgiving 1999.
It's 2 Toy Story 2 Happy Meals, and that's an order. Seems to be based on Disney and Pixar's new movie.
From this moment forward, Pixar was locking away any possibility of mediocrity and throwing away the key. There was no looking back. John Lasseter informed the employees that after the holidays, it would be all hands on deck, long days and nights. They had a miracle to pull off, but this miracle would take them to the very edge and could have cost them somebody's life. After the holidays, Pixar added Lee Unkrich as co-director, and the team began tearing the story apart and putting it back together piece by piece. And by team, I mean a collection of a few of their most brilliant minds, who they eventually referred to as the Brain Trust.
There's kind of a chemistry with us. We just spin off each other well or build on top of each other. It's always this core group of guys keeping each other in check.
We were able to finish each other's sentences and take each other's ideas and heighten them, and someone else would heighten it even more.
Vaguely reminiscent of such groups as Tolkien and Lewis's literary group, the Inklings, and Hemingway's Lost Generation, They bandied stories and ideas about until they were sharpened to perfection. With everything that they discussed, there was an idea that guided it all. Each person had to operate with expressive freedom and passion. If you disagree, tell them plainly. Fight for your idea. Tell someone why theirs doesn't work. And don't get defensive when someone points out a flaw in your ideas. In this creative mosh pit, timid candor and gray opinions would be the death of excellence and innovation.
There was this sort of, I don't even think we could take credit for it, just sort of this chemistry that we fell into, the four of us, when we would be boarding stuff and trying to hash things out, where we just loved to argue. I think we kind of scared people because we would get so loud and we'd get in each other's faces.
Us would never do that.
And people.
This is Joe Ranft, 6'8", industry veteran, storytelling genius, described as the heart and soul of Pixar.
People would think we hated each other, but the truth is that we were actually hoping we'd be proven wrong. It's like there was such desire to get the answer. And it was such an infectious thing. I mean, I just couldn't wait to get back to work the next day and get into that setting.
Well, everybody would sit around a table and we'd all work on the same sequence. I mean, so a lot of these sequences came so fast that I'd be drawing one row and you'd be drawing another row, and then I'd clean up somebody else's.
That style of boarding was unique to Pixar, based on, I worked at a lot of other places before. It was totally unique to Toy Story, and there was definitely a one mind that emerged, or the Super Friends, or however you want to call it. We have arguments?
Yes, we do.
We have an argument. No, that's not the way it went. No.
Ed Catmull describes that the film wasn't really selling the idea that Woody's choice was really up in the air, that leaving Andy wasn't a real option. And it wasn't conveying the emotional stakes for Woody in depth and what was at stake for the potential of an abandoned toy, of love ending. The brain trust treatment for these issues involved creating the character of Wheezy, who would actually be voiced by Brain Trust member Joe Ranft.
Well, I tried squeaking, but I'm still broken. No one could hear me.
Slow down, you flowers!
Joe Ranft is the most brilliant story man ever to work in animation. He's also very funny.
Yoo-hoo, Mr. Early Bird! How about the nice, tasty worm on a stick?
Wheezy would sell the potential of abandonment for a toy and what that would mean for Woody emotionally.
What's the point in prolonging the inevitable? We're all just one stitch away from here to there.
They also beefed up Jessie's part, adding her backstory through a soulful montage. With these changes and more, there was real weight to Woody's decision. It was now believable. Catmull describes the question they boiled it down to. Would you choose to live forever without love? Or to live with love, knowing that it can end? They moved ahead with the vastly improved story and Steve Jobs' encouraging comments. Disney doesn't think we can do this, so let's prove them wrong. Employees pushed themselves into exhaustion while working under this impossible deadline. Carpal tunnel and other repeat use injuries would infect an entire 1/3 of their ranks. Pixar tried to encourage employees to rest, but everyone knew that they had a deadline to meet. Their culture just cared too much about excellence to take things easier. One Pixar employee and his wife, in June of 1999, were in the thick of the exhausting final push before release. One hot summer day, he drove in and got straight to his animation. A few hours into the day, his wife asked him how daycare drop-off went for their infant son this morning. He froze. Drop-off never happened. He forgot. The baby was still in the car. Infant death from hot car incidents can happen in just minutes, and the baby had been in the hot car for hours. Racing out to the car, they discovered the baby unconscious. Eventually, the child would gain consciousness and would be okay. This incident shook Pixar. Exhaustion from the relentless work around the deadline had been the direct cause for this employee forgetting his child. Most importantly, a human life had almost been lost. One can only wonder, what would Pixar's future have been if all the headlines had read something like, Pixar working conditions cause child fatality? However admirable their ambition, Ed Catmull knew that they had been pushed too far. He vowed they would never push their employees to the edge like this ever again, release dates notwithstanding. Approaching Thanksgiving 1999, Pixar was reaching the finish line. What once was an impossible goal was now a reality, and all they had to do was wait for the audience's reaction.
It is coming!
Only in theaters.
I'm officially freaked out now.
Tim Allen.
To infinity and beyond.
Our friendship will
Yes, it's Toy Story 2, amazing all-computer animation, even better than the original. In fact, the whole movie is better than the original, and the original was great.
Oh, I loved it too, and you know, kids...
And catch lightning in a bottle they did. The verdict was out. Pixar had achieved the rare perfect sequel. The best things about the first Toy Story were even better in the second movie. Not only did Toy Story 2 possibly outdo the first movie while making audiences laugh and cry, the movie sent a clear message to the whole world. Pixar is worth watching because Pixar doesn't settle. This commitment to excellence earned them a box office total of more than 5 times their budget. As Ed Catmull said, this movie truly became the crucible upon which the company was built.
Toy Story 2 was the pivotal moment in this company. It's when we actually defined who we were.
Everybody was so dedicated to it and loved Toy Story and those characters so much and loved the new movie so much that we killed ourselves to make it. And it took some people a year to recover. It was tough. It was too tough.
That was probably the greatest sense of accomplishment I've ever had, and I think the studio's ever had in their life.
After the storm they weathered, no movie project or crisis would feel impossible to overcome. They learned a valuable lesson about choosing the leadership for their films and where to put the limit of their ambitions. And somewhere along the way, Pixar had to grow up too. They moved out of their childhood home, their original base in Point Richmond next to the factory, and into their state-of-the-art permanent home in Emeryville, designed for them by Steve Jobs. This would become the base from which, over the next decade or so, they would launch possibly the greatest consecutive string of cinematic hits in film history.
He was taken by these divers.
I don't know, something amazing. Good afternoon. My name is Russell, and I am a...
You must not let anyone define your limits because of where you come from. Your only limit is your soul. What I say is true. Anyone can cook, but only the fearless can be great.
But before we go, there's one last question to ask. What was it that made Toy Story 2 so rich and timeless? A sequel that defined Pixar's destiny. If art is truth told beautifully, what core truth resonated with audiences so deeply? Whereas the first Toy Story would be a tale most relatable to children about handling the feeling of being replaced.
The window in the first place. Oh, yeah. Well, if you hadn't shown up your stupid little cardboard spaceship and taken away everything that was important to me.
The second film presented a vision that would be most relatable to the adults. A vision that eventually gets placed in front of everyone. You could be admired, flawless, unspent, shiny, admired by legions, and truly, deeply loved by none. Two paths lie ahead, self-preservation or vulnerability. Pixar's antidote to the former is clear.
Woody, where are you going? You're right, Prospector. I can't stop Andy from growing up. But I wouldn't miss it for the world.